Hello and welcome to IDFC First Bank presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11. I'm Sunanda Jayaseelan. On the show tonight, I'm in conversation with Padma Bhushan, Dr. Suchitra Ella. She's speaking to us, amongst other things, about their much anticipated COVID vaccine for the pediatric space. She speaks to us about the nasal vaccine that was launched earlier this year. She's talking about innovation, being a woman scientist, and just so much more. Listen in. Thank you so much for speaking with us here on the Leaders of Tomorrow, ma'am. So fantastic that you could take the time really speaking to our entrepreneurs about how you've built your company. And it's definitely inspirational. It's fascinating about how the company was started and how far you've come in such a short span of time. And in fact, I want to start by congratulating you on the Padma Bhushan. This is the first time I'm meeting you in person, so I must take the time to congratulate you.
Thank you. It's a great honor and something that stands for the country. And it's very difficult to express our gratitude and thanks for the recognition. Thank you.
And in fact, since you're saying it's a recognition for the country, I want to talk about the fact that if you were to receive your approvals from the US FDA, you'll be the first vaccine from India, which is manufactured here, which is produced here, to be sold in the US. Give us a sense of, perhaps where that is at and how soon we could see that happening.
It would not even be the first vaccine. It will be the first pharma biotech molecule per se under the entire life sciences industry when Covaxin gets approved in the USA. And it is right now undergoing the regulatory process, which is again a very major part of the requirement in order for any product to be introduced into the markets in the United States and the other nations, the regulated markets as they are called. From India, this would be it would be like going to the moon, a kind of I could equate it to that, because I think this will be really a big step for the life sciences industry from India when we achieve that. And we hope one of our vaccines will do that very quickly. Very soon.
Speaking of vaccines, I do want to talk about the fact that we are unfortunately seeing an increase in infections across the country, and a lot of states are reporting a vaccine shortage. Would you like to respond to that?
After we supplied vaccines in 21, and parts of it were also going on through in 22. So when the first and the second doses were taken, I think a majority of the population felt that, they have gotten past the pandemic. And even though the booster was available that needed to be taken, which was also advocated and mandated by the Ministry of Health, which is the regulatory requirement, I think a large section of the population did not go back and take that booster shot. So, probably thinking that it's over. But with organisms like this, we don't know when it is really over. For example, influenza is a virus which comes every year. And every year it comes in a different form. It changes, it mutates itself, or it's, in such a way that the vaccine that was made for it the previous year will not be able to tackle it the following year.
Sure.
So the vaccine is also changed accordingly, according to the strain of the virus. So in the pandemic situation, this is something very unprecedented. None of us have all the wherewithal to tackle it. I mean, everybody, we're doing it in the best possible manner that we all can, trying the best, resources out there, putting the best resources out there, and hoping that, yes, we will overcome it. But I think a lot of this awareness needs to be created in the public, is to just follow the guidelines of the public health departments, the governments, that is what would be my request or suggestion to everyone around us. Because there's no such thing as I can do this for me and this works for me, so it will work for her, or it would work for my family or my neighbors. What works for me will not necessarily work for you, because your immune system and the level of the antibodies that you would carry would be different compared to my immune system and what antibody titers that I would be carrying, or how I would respond to a particular change in the strain or the mutation in the strain. Probably it would not have even touched you or bothered you, but it would have got me down for a week or so. That's what we saw in the later variants as we came into 22 and 23. Even now, of late, we hear that cases are increasing. So my point is, the booster shot, which is the third shot, is the shot to take it, because that's your, that's the final hit on the, on that board when you have to hit that center point, is that booster shot, because it just completely takes charge of the immune system in our bodies, and that is important, and that should not have been taken casually.
Sure.
Children take it. All our children, in fact, if you just observe, all pediatric vaccines have 3. If not, there is also a 4th shot, which is at the end of the year or something like that. So these are called booster shots, just to make sure that it just gives that much more additional support or ammunition, or that, it just packs it all together so that the system is then ready for at least a few years down the line.
You're using the word request when you're saying, I would request people to take the booster shot. Do you think we need much more of a stricter, more stringent approach? Should you have that sort of a carrot and stick approach almost?
We are a manufacturer, so I cannot be more forceful by saying this, because I think it's not, I don't think I should say it in such a manner, but definitely the enforcement authorities, the government, the Ministry of Health, the public health departments, the state governments, the municipal corporations, all of them have that, position, and they also have that, because in public interest. This is not something just for the sake of a city or a few districts in a state, but this is going to affect the entire population of states or of districts. So I think the government definitely, in whatever level, have a much higher and stronger role that they can enforce it, or let people understand that it's very important that they must take it. Sure. And not turn away from it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Time for a quick break on that note. Much more on the other side. Do stay tuned. We are back in just a moment. Welcome back. You're with us here on IDFC First Bank Presents Leaders of Tomorrow, Season 11.
You're saying booster dose, but it's not a booster shot, you're saying, but it's not just a shot anymore. You've pioneered something pathbreaking, which is the nasal vaccine.
Right.
Tell us a little more on that.
Right. When we when we started working on pandemic vaccines, we were trying out, I think, 3 or 4 platform technologies, and because everything had to be, we wanted to make sure that we were not just running behind one particular process technology. So we wanted as many areas we could cover because time was of the essence. And we said, what happens if this starts coming out year on year? What happens if it becomes a seasonal or a annual kind of a strain which will mutate itself and then come back? So we're not going to be able to tell people, and of this kind of population, especially in countries like India, where we are the largest demographic, one of the largest demographics of the world, to go back and start taking, injections and shots at in the clinics, in the hospitals. We felt that we could probably address it very effectively by making a nasal vaccine, and that is what we did. We developed drops, and these are just nasal drops, 4 drops, I think, in each nostril on either side, and then we are done. It is important that they can prevent this transmission, especially at the nasal, in the pathways, in the mucosal pathways, and the vaccine just blocks it. So they don't have the virus does not pass through their upper respiratory tract and then heads downwards into the lungs. So we block it right up there. So that's what the nasal vaccine is going to do. And India, and we are the first company, and India is the first country in the world to have launched the nasal vaccine. It was commercially approved and licensed for commercial launch in the month of January. And in fact, we launched it on Jan 26th on our Republic Day in Delhi.
When we could see a COVID vaccine for pediatric use. I know I'm personally invested in that. Yeah.
Yes, we all do, because we have either children or grandchildren, right? Yeah, I have a grandson. So, if the policy is there to take it out to the children to younger age groups, I think we have stopped at 12 right now as a country. We have vaccinated 12 to 18 kids in that age group. Right now, the entire adult population, or almost all of the adult population of the world, more or less, have been vaccinated, be it any vaccine. So now what is left is maybe the under 15 or the under 12 population in all our countries, which is primarily then the children. Or the other area that it could maybe look for newer host systems is the animals, because we have pet animals at home, or we have livestock in our farms and in our villages, in the rural communities. So these pathogens can, find their way across to any other host system which is still not immunized. So we just can't, we need to be very cautious about that one aspect. And we need to take necessary steps in order to see if we can also be ahead of the virus and not following the virus as it goes along. Because we can't predict which turn and, twist it will take.
Sure. Ma'am, we started this conversation by talking about your entry into the US market. And despite the fact that India is such a huge manufacturing hub for pharma and pharmaceuticals, the question of quality keeps coming up very often. How can that be fixed? What is your advice for an entrepreneur who's in this space, who's watching this interview, whether or not they faced quality questions? But how can we ensure that there's no question on the quality?
Quality is primarily, I think it has to be built into the organization from day one. For us, especially because in the life sciences sector, most of our products get Though we started out for the Indian markets and the demand that existed for these kinds of technologies, we wanted affordability to be was one of our primary goals, to keep affordability and competitiveness in terms of the product. But quality is equally important, if not one step even higher than affordability and being competitive in the market, because we ourselves felt that we do not want to make Me Too products or second class or third class products for our own country, for our own children. And vaccines have the highest norms in terms of stringency and regulatory, because they surpass, I think they're on the top of the line in terms of the pharmaceutical list of products that we manufacture. And vaccines and blood products and these things are always on top in terms of, because vaccines are given primarily to healthy adults and healthy children. So they are not therapeutic molecules, they are preventive molecules. So safety is the first yardstick for a vaccine. For us now, for us as Indian manufacturers, we have plants in India that are compliant to US FDA. And there are many products that are being manufactured here, the volumes and everything, but are labeled in some of the other countries where they are marketed. When we have to participate in international tenders or in countries where we could market our vaccines, we again are subjected to the WHO's regulatory parameters, and we have to be audited and we have to be approved, pre-qualified by the WHO, and then only participate in UNICEF procurements or other governments that procure for their countries. And there are many other large funding organizations in the world, like Gavi and PAHO and all of them who procure, and there are many foundations also who procure vaccines and distribute it to the the low-income countries. So all of them require that these parameters and standards and guidelines are followed absolutely to the dot. Sure. It's very important because we cannot distinguish between the market here and the market elsewhere, and it's also important to communicate and to also make it visible to the world that our products will stand the test of quality irrespective of where they get distributed, and they will all comply with international norms and guidelines, which is again what everybody wants, because if we can't be just manufacturing for our own country, we can, but after a point of time we would also have markets opening up in other parts of the world. Sometimes we are ahead in terms of technology, we are ahead in, we are better in terms of price points, we are competitive as products, and due to the many advantages that we have in our system here, and we need to keep quality as a number one prerogative in order to ensure that we will develop, manufacture, and market products which can sustain the global standards.
Out of time on this very special conversation with Padma Bhushan, Dr. Suchitra Ella, an inspirational and freewheeling conversation. If you have any feedback on that, we're all ears, love hearing from you. Do let us know. Our details on your screens as we speak. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.